Hi there, Kevin Tharp here. Today we're going to be talking about templates and includes. Basically, up to this point, you should understand that a web page consists of a series of cells that have been created and manipulated using CSS generally to position them in the page that they want. What we're going to talk about today is templates. So this is a typical page consisting of a header, navigation section, some main body, and a footer. Very common type of layout, of course a logo in there. So there's a series of cells there that are part of the web page. And the way, when we're producing multiple pages, there's several different ways of sharing the code or reusing the code to make it a more efficient process, so you're not constantly updating the code. Now in Dreamweaver they have what's called a DWT file or Dreamweaver template, and the beauty of the Dreamweaver template is that when you create a template file, so you've created a template here, that is a file that's held off to the side, and Dreamweaver tracks that file and how you use it. So that what you do is, after you've got a template created, what you do is you will create a series of pages from that template, and what it does is it puts information in each of those pages that tells it which template it's connected to, such that when you come back and change the DWT file, what it does is it allows it to go back and change it. So the switch here is that added an extra image up here. When I do that in the template in Dreamweaver, it will automatically update to all the pages that have created from that template. So in DWT files in Dreamweaver, there's a persistent connection. And that's what really makes it special, is that it has that ability to change all of those files that are created from that template. That's managed by Dreamweaver, and so those changes get pushed out to the individual pages. But the only ones that are well, that's the way that Dreamweaver does it. That's not the way that most of the editors are done. So in non-Dreamweaver templates, what you've got normally is a one-time code duplication, and there's no persistent connection, so changes to the template do not get pushed. So in this case you see that the image was added, but since these pages were already created and there's no sort of intelligence behind let's just say Aptana that keeps track of what pages are created from that template, there's no ability to push those changes forward. So we have to look at a little bit different way of designing in a standard template than we would in Dreamweaver, because we know that with these standard templates there's not going to be that ability to change the template and have it automatically propagated. One of the things that we can do is use what's called an include, and the include is the process of the collection of contents from several different files and putting them together at the time when the HTTP request is made. So that's the fundamental difference, is that in your DWT updates they actually change the HTML of the document that is saved, whereas in an include what it does is, in the document that is saved there is a script that says to include this file. So for instance, in the page that we're looking at here, if I knew that my navigation was something that was likely going to change, but I needed to have it on all of my pages or even several of my pages, but I needed the ability to update that. Whenever I made that update, it needed to go to everywhere. What I would do is I would actually create a file called, in this case I just called it nav.html. You could really call it whatever you want, .html, because it needs to be an HTML file. But what I could do, actually that's not true, it could be a JavaScript or others, but for the sake of today that would be nav.html, and what I would do is I would put my hyperlinks that I use for my navigation. So the code that I use in my nav section would live inside of this document. Same thing with footer or any other part of your page that's going to be used on multiple pages and needs to be updated, and you want the ability to change it in one location and have it pushed out. So we would create that file, and then within the template document we would make a we would add the script to include this file. Same thing, we would add the script to include the footer.html file down here where the footer is. And you could do this with any of the parts of the document that you wanted to update and not have to go through and touch all your files. So what would happen is when my browser came in, first up, let's back up. If I created a page from this file, if I created documents from that template, what you're going to do is you're going to have a series of files here, and they're each going to have the include to that nav.html. Now the way that I've got it illustrated here is not actually correct, because that would look like they each are pulling from separate documents. The accurate way to do this would actually be that all of these pages are linked to the same HTML document. So it would more accurately look like this, so that the template links to the nav.html, it also links to the footer.html, and every page that is created from that template includes those same links to those original files. So that what happens is that when you want to change your navigation, you change it in this file, and because that code doesn't actually live on these pages, you don't have to go and update those pages. You just let it sit there, and when a HTTP request comes along to this page, it'll say, okay, here's my HTML, here's a script to go and get the nav file, here's a script to go and get the footer file, put it all together, compiles in the browser at runtime. And that's an efficient way of doing it, and it's the way that it's generally done when you're not using a management system such as Dreamweaver. But in order for these includes to work, it's going to have to be your website is going to have to be included as part of an Apache or IIS server to work. So it's not going to work if you do not have an application server such as that in place. So that you have to have that for the includes to work. So that sort of sums this up. It requires a little bit different workflow when you're doing this, because while you can change the content of these files, you really need to have your template pretty well nailed down and anticipate that you're not going to make many changes before you start creating the pages from it, except for the content of the documents that are going to be in the include files. And that would also allow the flexibility of part of the reason we use external style sheets is that it allows us to do the same thing, is to have a .css file that functions in the same sort of way as an include. It's not actually an include, but it functions in the same sort of way. Goes out, it gets that style sheet at the time that the page is being rendered, and it uses that to render the document. So that's the way that that works. That's all I've got for now. Talk to you later. Bye.